What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckbine, joined by you guys today. I'm riding solo once again on a Sunday afternoon stream. Super excited to be here live from St. Vincent College as we wrap up week one of Pittsburgh Steelers training camp in a fashion that came with change, came with some injuries, came with some winners and some losers. As always, came with plenty of heat and a lot to talk about. So we're diving into it all. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Find all my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. And as always, shout out to all of our members and our super chatters as always. Let's dive into it. It's 4:45 here on a Sunday. We just wrapped up practice a little bit early. We're rocking on a day that came with injuries, a day that came with drops, a day that came with interceptions, a day that came with some moments on offense that you felt pretty good about, and some change that I think we have to dive into. Let's dive into the injuries to start things off. Broderick Jones is the big one. The left tackle went down with a soft tissue injury, as Mike Tomlin classified it. It's day-to-day as we stand here today. Don't know how long it's going to be. Don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be cautious with Broderick Jones. What I saw was Broderick take individual reps. Afterwards, he was on the sideline as the team was going up for 7 shots, which is what they do every single day to start practice. They go individuals, stretching individuals. Then they do 7 shots, which is 7 attempts, offense versus defense, to see who wins at the goal line. Broderick took the second snap of 7 shots. He did not take the first. Calvin Anderson was out there for the first shot. Broderick came in, took the second, was not on the field the rest of the day. He had his entire, what looked like his groin, maybe a hamstring. It's tough without being a doctor to really know, but a big wrap on his right leg went down to his leg and onto his hip. Seemed like it was not a pleasant experience for anybody, but he tried to tough through it, couldn't do it. Pittsburgh Steelers classified as a soft tissue injury with further evaluation coming, but day to day could mean they take it slow and that they give him a week before he returns to the field. It could mean that they wait until he's 100% healthy before they put him out on the field. I mean, last year, Broderick Jones suffered an elbow injury pretty early in camp and never missed time for it. And it bummed him out. It hurt him all season long. He talked about it constantly, how the elbow injury was there and it lingered. And then, he kind of brushed it off saying, it's not that big of a deal, but it clearly was, as the Steelers were watching him underperform. You got to hope that that's not the case this year. My expectation is Broderick Jones is a guy that's going to miss maybe 3 or 4 days, maybe most of next week, and then come back the week after. But the Steelers have to slow roll this. I get he's playing left tackle, he's switching sides. You got to build continuity, and you have to let him develop on the side that he's going to play with you in a crucial year for the Steelers and the offense and their former first-round pick. But at the same time, you have to have a healthy Broderick Jones. You have to have a healthy Broderick Jones. And why is because the Steelers are already making changes to their backup left tackle spot, because they understand that their backups are not good enough to be starters and to fill in when needed when injuries like this happen. So you have to make sure Broderick Jones is good to go before you could put him back on the field. And I think the Steelers are going to do that. I don't expect them to rush him back from injury with this one. It's a big blow for the Pittsburgh Steelers if Broderick is to miss some time, but it's a blow no matter what. Even if it's just a day or a couple of days, Broderick is a dude that right now they are counting on in a massive way to figure this out and be a key piece to their offensive line. I mean, Mike Tomlin said his expectations are very high for Broderick Jones, and he needs him to come out here firing, because if he doesn't, the Steelers' offensive line is in a lot of trouble, and therefore their entire offense is in a lot of trouble in 2025. You can't miss this crucial time, but that's what happens when it's 9 million degrees outside. I mean, it had to be 95 and muggy today for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the rain rolled in. They're getting thunderstorm after thunderstorm, which is just causing crazy humidity out here. Guys, are I don't want to say dropping like flies, but you're seeing guys cramp up left and right. You're seeing instances where guys are going down with soft tissue injuries now or heat related issues constantly now 3 days in a row. And then you're watching fans drop like flies, which is awful and terrifying. It's warm. That's what happens when there's weather like this. Guys get banged up. The soft tissue injuries happen. Broderick is the first one to go down, which isn't great. The other one, DJ Thomas Jones and Montana Lamonius Craig, both missed time at practice today. Lamonius Craig is also a soft tissue injury, probably due to the heat. The wide receiver was most likely fighting dead last on the depth chart. Doesn't really have much of an opportunity to make the Pittsburgh Steelers, but still has some fighting shot, as everybody does. He's a guy that has, first, a fantastic name. Second, comes in here, he's lengthy, he's got pretty quality hands. He hasn't shown anything, but he's still a name to watch. And then DJ Thomas Jones, the tight end, the guy who made history for the Pittsburgh Steelers, signing the biggest signing bonus ever in franchise history as an undrafted free agent out of South Alabama. He looks more serious. Ankle, foot injury. Mike Tomlin didn't have specifics yet after practice, but he went down during a team drill, limped to the sideline, saw a trainer, sat down on the cooler, was getting tended to by trainers. Pat Freiermuth came up, talked to him, dapped him up. That's when you kind of know things are not great for anybody out there. And then he was helped onto a cart and taken off the field from there. You got to hope the best for DJ Thomas Jones. I thought he looked pretty impressive during minicamp. He came out here and made a couple of plays as well during training camp that I was honestly becoming a fan of. I think he plays really well at the tight end position, has pretty quality hands, is a really good blocker. Was excited to see him in pads when you get to the backs on backers and stuff like that, and let him hit somebody and see if he could be a fullback / tight end that the Pittsburgh Steelers desperately need. But instead, he's probably going to miss a significant amount of time. Don't know what's going to happen to him. Him and Jeremiah Moon are the first two big injuries for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you just don't know if it's going to last long term, if it's going to be a lingering thing, if it means that their time in Pittsburgh has come to an end, because this time of year when that stuff happens, it doesn't take much to say we're moving on and getting somebody new, and we're just going to put you on IR and then waive you with an injury designation later in camp. Not ideal for either of them. We'll see what happens. Mike Tomlin doesn't have much information now. When they come back on Tuesday, I would imagine he does. Let's talk the change on offense and who won and who lost today. The big change is the backup tackle, which you could look at and say, nobody cares, man. That's no big deal. It's a pretty massive deal, if you ask me, because the Pittsburgh Steelers have 3 holes coming into training camp. They filled one at safety with Chuck Clark, who's looked pretty good out there. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes he's with the 4th stringers and he looks like a starter playing with 4th stringers. And you could say, well, it's the fourth string, but I'm not going to lie to you. I would expect him to look absolutely dominant in the 4th string. And he does look absolutely dominant in the 4th string, which is what you expect. Make some teams or some plays with 2nd string. He looks pretty good. Wide receiver, offensive tackle were the other two. They said and came in here that they feel pretty good about their wide receiver room, and they didn't address their offensive tackle room at all, except for signing Calvin Anderson to a 2-year deal. Well, Calvin Anderson's time as a swing tackle may already be over because he played 1 rep. It was the first rep of 7 shots to start practice today. Broderick went in the 2nd rep, wasn't able to go again. Dylan Cook comes in at left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers to replace him and does not leave. He spends the rest of practice as the backup left tackle, or I guess the starting left tackle today for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's huge, because if you are somebody who is not a believer in Calvin Anderson, a guy who signed a 2-year deal here, that usually means that's your guy. You have confidence in him. You have enough faith to ink him to a multi-year deal and give him an opportunity. This flies back, man. It never leaves. And now he's getting benched at the end of the first week of practice. You don't even have pads on, and he already looks poor enough that you don't want him on the field with the starters. I think that means 2 things. For one, Dylan Cook has the upper hand, obviously. But for 2, if Dylan Cook isn't it, if Dylan Cook doesn't perform well, if Dylan Cook doesn't look great, if there are hiccups there as well, the Pittsburgh Steelers have immediately made it known that they are open to making change and that they are saying, we need the best guy out here. We're not going to waste the time. If Broderick's going to miss time, we have to make sure that we're pretty solid and our foundation's fine. That means they might go out and get another swing tackle if Dylan Cook isn't good enough. And I don't know who it could be. I just came from practice. I haven't had time to sit down and dive into that list, but it means that they at least have the awareness that if things need to change, they're going to change them. And Dylan Cook right now might be the backup, which I like Dylan Cook. I thought Dylan Cook looked good the season that he was here. I thought he looked good the year after, but then he got hit with the foot injury, and by the time he came back, he ended up on the practice squad. It wasn't an ideal situation for him or the Pittsburgh Steelers, who couldn't really get a backup from that point on. But I'm a fan of Dylan Cook. I'm a fan of his journey. I'm a fan of the progress that he's made. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are fans of Dylan Cook. I don't know if it's guaranteed he's going to be the guy. What I do know is that it shows that the Pittsburgh Steelers are aware that they cannot just settle for whatever's on the roster at swing tackle. And that's good for the Pittsburgh Steelers because you don't want to settle. You don't want Broderick Jones to go down with a soft tissue injury in week 3 or week 4, and then you are rocking with a backup tackle that's not good enough to play backup tackle. You can't have that. That leaves massive holes in your most important position offensively outside of quarterback. It's a good day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I truly believe that, because if Calvin Anderson came out here and looked fantastic, then okay, that's a good day too. But he looked bad, and the Steelers said, it's time to move on. It's time to make changes instantly. We're not messing around. And I think that leaves the door open to figuring this out one way or another for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I get it. I get it. People want bigger changes. The smaller changes, when they come in important positions, are significant. And I think that's what's going on here. Broderick, if he's going to miss some time, you're going to get plenty of opportunity to test it out and see what you got in Dylan Cook. If he's good enough, awesome. If he's not good enough, I think the Steelers would go on and figure out something to just make sure that they have a swing tackle that is capable at a spot start for 2 or 3 weeks at max. That's the big change for today. Let's dive into winners and losers and who impressed at practice. And then I want to start answering all your guys' questions. So make sure you're tossing them in the chat. Once again, shout out to our members. Once again, shout out to our super chatters as we work through this Sunday podcast. It's not raining out here in Latrobe. It rained for anybody who was at practice. It did pour if you left early. Everybody was booted out. They left about 10 minutes early. Aaron Rodgers made it known today or yesterday on NFL Network that it is hot, and he is not lying. It is scalding out here in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. It's crazy, actually, how hot it is. I've never seen it this warm. I've heard horror stories about it being this warm, but never in my life, in my 6 years of being a Pittsburgh Steelers beat reporter, I have never once experienced heat like we are seeing in Latrobe, Pennsylvania this week. Craziest part about it is Tuesday, it's supposed to be 94, 96, something like that, which means that it's going to feel like 105 and pads are going to be on. We're going to see. We're going to see what happens. I'm excited for it. By the way, Mike Tomlin and his matchup to watch is Kenneth Gainwell versus Peyton Wilson in routes, which is the most boring answer you can give, because you want to know who my matchup is? Jaylen Warren versus Mark Robinson, as it is every year, because those two guys are the best backs on backers that the Steelers have on their roster, hands down. All right, let's dive into it. Those Nutter Butters, man, they get me. Shout out to Alan Saunders, who brought in a bag of Nutter Butters today. Like, could you imagine? First off, shout out to anybody who has Nutter Butters still. I have not had a Nutter Butter in 5 years. But anybody who just walks into a room with a bag of Nutter Butters saying, take what you want, you're a hero. You're a hero. Winners and losers of the day. We'll start with the winners. Go one offensive, one defensive. My offensive winner today is Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren looked really, really good. Jaylen had a couple of passes that I thought he made the most of. And then he had a couple of runs that he definitely made the most of. And you got to put pads on before you start judging these guys. But it's been a couple of days of us talking about Caleb Johnson looking really good and looking electrifying and people getting really excited about Caleb Johnson. And you're kind of going, okay, yeah, Jalen's good too, though, but there's just nothing to talk about with Jalen right now. He's not putting on the show that Caleb Johnson's putting on. You're seeing that. You saw that today. You saw Jalen catch a couple of passes and take off. You saw Jalen hit a hole and burst out for 40, 50 yards before you figured anybody would have touched him. That was great to see. I think Jalen is still a stud. I'm one of the few people, I think, who still see Jalen Warren as like the true number one in Pittsburgh. Obviously, they're going to split reps and Caleb's going to get a lot of work in Pittsburgh. Kenny G is going to get a lot of work in Pittsburgh. I think Jalen's going to be, at the end of the day, the best running back the Steelers have in 2025. I thought we saw a little bit of that today. Not taking anything away from the other guys. I think they're going to be great as well. I just think Jalen Warren is really, really good and a little bit overlooked at times. And I liked what I saw today in moments. On the defensive side of the ball, we'll go Brandon Echols. Brandon Echols is a guy that has had a couple of moments. I'll give you two, actually, but we'll start with Brandon Echols, who's had a couple of moments where you were like, all right, he would have made the tackle, would have maybe only given up like 4 yards, but he still let him catch it. There have been a couple of times where he's come up with a really nice play. You're going, all right, that's a nice move. But he started the day off with an interception on Mason Rudolph. That was a terrible pass and a great play by Brandon Echols. And then he made a couple of more plays throughout practice that you felt pretty good about. This is the first time really throughout all of training camp, and it's only been a week, but the first week of training camp where you watched Brandon Echols and went, all right, this dude looks like he looked in minicamp. Like, he looked pretty good in minicamp. He looks and continues to look good for the Pittsburgh Steelers today. The other one for you is Y Black. That dude, man, he had a day. He had an absolute wrecking ball of a day. Now, Derek Harmon looks like a freak, continues to look like a freak, but he was my winner yesterday. I'm not going back-to-back winners. That's boring. Derek Harmon continued to look great. Y Black batted 2 passes down, which were just great to see. Both of them, you just looked at it and said, all right, there it is. That's the guy that you're looking for. That's the moment that you're looking for if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then he did it again. You're going, okay, that's the big man in the middle. That's a great backup big man in the middle. Y Black looked great. He moved Zach Frazier and Ryan McCollum and Aiden Williams around quite a bit today, which I thought looked good. Again, you need some pads on to judge these guys. But Y Black's a massive human being. You look at him and he looks scary. And then to come out here and have the day that he did, I thought was definitely impressive. We'll talk losers now, offensive and defensive. We'll start on offense. My loser of the day is Jonnu Smith. Jonnu dropped 2 passes in individual drills back-to-back, which did not look good. Did not have a good day in team reps. There were a couple of times where I thought he was open and a quarterback just didn't get him the football, but overall didn't do much. Hasn't had a real crazy productive week overall. And while I think Jonnu Smith's a really talented tight end, just has not come out of the gates firing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We close out the first week. He missed the first 2 days of practice, returned on the third, had a ball ripped out of his hands by Corey Trice for a drop that should have been a catch against a backup corner, and then goes and drops 2 more passes today in individual drills with nobody on you. Like, that's the worst part, is that it's just an easy slant. All you got to do is catch the football. He couldn't catch the football. Didn't do much during team or individual drills or team drills after that. And I think that hurt him. Like, Jonnu Smith has not had a very impressive week. Again, I really like Jonnu Smith, but I also have to acknowledge that he's had some flaws this week, and he's got to bounce back in week 2. On the defensive side of the ball, a loser for the day. That's a tough one. The defense looked pretty good all around. I don't really know anybody who truly got beat at all. I don't want to label him a loser of the day, but I think a guy who stood out as, I think he gave up 2 passes, but then he came through and made a good one as well. So maybe an asterisk on this loser. Peyton Wilson, I didn't think had the best day, but I don't think Peyton Wilson had a bad day by no means. I think the defense just looks so crazy good that it's hard to say that guy's not great. I'll toss maybe a more interesting one out there. And that was Dante Kent. After a really exciting week, I thought his reps lowered a lot today. Didn't get a lot of reps, and that's not an on the field loser. That's a rep depth chart loser. And I think that one stands out to me, is that Dante Kent didn't get the reps that I wanted him to get. He's looked really good throughout the week, like so good. I'm impressed by him, and he just didn't do anything out there. So I would go Dante Kent today. Again, not by what he did on the field, but what he wasn't able or wasn't given the opportunity to do on the field. And I think that came back to hurt him. I would go Dante Kent as my loser on defense. Besides that, first camp fight today, that was a good one. Always Cole Holcomb versus Ryan McCollum. Didn't do much, but there were some words exchanged afterwards. I don't know what was said, but all I saw was Cole's helmet get ripped off, and he stands up, and the fight's over at this point. And Cole is still chirping a little bit, and he looks pissed. So you got to believe it. And then shortly after, it was awesome. Jalen Ramsey and Pat Freiermuth on, I believe it was a screen, are blocking and are going at it. And after the play, Jalen shoves with everything he's got, shoves Pat Freiermuth. And I looked at Jim Wexel, I think, and said, I think that's the first time Jalen's ever shoved somebody who genuinely does not care. And that's bad, because Pat probably turned it into a joke. Pat will flip Joey Porter Jr. off in the middle of practice just for no reason whatsoever. He'll talk trash to anybody, but he doesn't he's not the talking trash telling you like, yo, your mama's fat. Like, he'll just be like, hey, you suck. You suck. And then he'll go make a play. Like, he's all jokes. He's the big, goofball of the team. That's who Pat Freiermuth is. And Jalen getting in his face was hilarious because I just think that it was a moment that Jalen was looking for a scuffle, and Pat probably just cracked a joke and continued to walk away because, that's good old Pat Freiermuth. All right. With that said, let's start answering questions. Toss them in the chat. Shout out our super chatters. Shout out our members. We're going to take a quick break so that I can highlight all these questions, and then we'll dive into them. We'll be right back.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold Apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All right. Shout out to you guys. I'm making my way through the questions here to move or to make sure I don't miss any before we start diving into them. I appreciate all you guys as always, especially on a good old Sunday afternoon, 5:00. There's no better way to close out a Sunday than good old football, good old Pittsburgh Steelers football. That's what I say all the time. All right, let's start diving into them here. Rocky Mountain Oyster Salad. Do you see anyone taking control of the wide receiver 2 spot? Yeah, Calvin Austin has a pretty firm grip on the competition right now. It's honestly not even close. Roman has faded pretty quickly. He's still the wide receiver 3, but it's a significant gap between him and anybody else. Calvin is the guy that's out there anytime they have a wide receiver 2 on the field, no matter where he's lined up. Calvin's that dude. And Calvin looks good. Calvin does look good. He caught a couple of passes today that looked good. He took off. He looks bigger than he did last year, which is still tiny for, a guy like Calvin, but he does look a little bit bigger than last year and the year before that. But Calvin Austin, man, it's not even close. It's not even close what they're doing. It'll be interesting to see when the pads come on, because smaller guys look great without pads. It's about when the pads come on, but Calvin's always been a really physical dude. So you got to think that with a guy like him who's proved it already that he's still going to be good. But it's been Calvin Austin, and again, hasn't been close. Cody Silva, didn't Tomlin say he needed to change the time because it wasn't hot and miserable enough? Yeah, I think it's been such an overreaction that it's or such an overcorrection that Latrobe has possibly convinced him he cannot do this again. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not going to change times. They're going to push through this. Tomlin loves the heat, man. But when guys start going down, you got to consider some things. They're not considering anything right now. That's not the case. But they are going to have to, because or they are going to have to be cautious, because it's so crazy hot. I don't know what the heat index is, but there's no chance it's under 100 any of the days this week. It's supposed to be worse next week. I don't know how you just ignore that and risk the injury. Instead, you have to be able to do something. So again, I don't think that they're going to change times. I just think that they might be a little bit more cautious. You might see a little bit shorter practices, that kind of stuff. Or you might see Tomlin being a psychopath, because that's who Mike Tomlin is, man. He just loves it. He loves every second of it, and he doesn't care. Heats for the week, or ACs for the week. And Mike Tomlin, that's why he's wearing sweatpants and a long sleeve shirt every single day, because he is a lunatic. Gotta love him for it, but he is a lunatic, for sure. Maddie, how do you think the backfield reps will be split between Jaleb, Caleb, and Kenny G? Good question. I think Jalen will get probably about 40% of them. I think Caleb will get 20 or 30% of them. Nah, I'd say 45, 40, 40, 20. That's what I would say. I'd say Jalen gets about 40 of them. Caleb gets about 40 of them. Kenny G gets about 20, because Kenny's a good player, like really good player. And you're going to want him on the field quite a bit, but you want Caleb on the field, obviously. You want Jalen on the field, obviously. You want them both to be healthy. So I would guess that it's a 40, 40, 20 split. I feel pretty great about that number. Keeps everybody fresh for the playoffs. That's what you're looking to do. Yeah, I'm going to say 40, 40, 20 is what I'm getting. And some days it'll be a little bit different here, a little bit different there. But for the most part, going into it, the game plan will most likely be that. Derek Ross, for members, how do I become a member? I click the link, but it takes me back to the All Steelers Talk YouTube page. It'll take you back to the page, but you'll be on the membership page. And right there, it should say like become a member of AST Nation or join today or something like that. But so the link, it'll look like the All Steelers Talk page. But you'll be on a membership. You'll be on the membership tab, so you'll be able to join there. But the link is that first link. And while it may look deceiving, it's going to take you to the membership page, I promise. If you can't figure it out from there, let me know, and I'll try to figure it out a little bit more. Cody Silva, do you think they want Cook to get more reps because they already know what they have in Anderson and they need to see what Cook can do? No, I genuinely think that Calvin Anderson just has looked that bad, and they are done giving him opportunities right now because of how bad he looked. That's my guess. Is there hasn't been a moment where Calvin Anderson's looked good out there. There really hasn't. And I like Calvin Anderson. I think he's, a nice dude, but he's not the best left tackle, and the Steelers need better. I think they're acknowledging that quite early, and that's what it is. I don't think it's Cook. It just because of the contract. Like you don't sign Calvin Anderson to a 2-year deal and give Dylan Cook a 1-year nothing deal just because you want a competition. Like, you signed Calvin Anderson to a 2-year deal to be your swing tackle. That's what that was. And not giving him that job would only be because he lost it, not because you were looking for a competition between the two. All right. Should I take Jalen or Caleb in fantasy or both? This is a tough one. To be honest with you, I think Jalen's going to get more touchdowns. I do think Caleb's going to that Caleb's going to get more touchdowns, or that Jalen's going to get more touchdowns. I think he's going to be the goal line guy a little bit more often. He's more of a muscle hamster. You know what I mean? He'll put his head down and just run right through you. And I would guess, if I had to guess, that it'll be Jalen that's worth it a little bit long term in terms of a risk. James, is the right tackle backup better than the left tackle backup? Because if so, then you move forward Tanu to the left. So if Broderick is down and out, and so the injury is going to make him miss a significant amount of time, which I don't think it's going to make him miss much time at all, then you have to most likely move Troy to the left. But again, it'd have to be like a season-ending injury where you're making a drastic change. Besides that, it doesn't matter. And Dylan Cook and Calvin Anderson are technically the backups for right and left. They're just swing tackles that can play both. Troy could play both sides. Broderick could play both sides. If Broderick's healthy, he's going to be the left, and if Troy's healthy, he's going to be the right. So while if it was a significant long-term injury, the door is open for Troy to move, but just a minor injury, they're not going to touch anything. Maddie, again, what do they do on their off day? Do they go home or stay in Latrobe? No, they're out of here. They're out of here pretty quickly. They'll probably leave with me here in about a half hour or so. Most guys head back to their families for a day, and then they come back Monday night or super early Tuesday morning to get back into the groove of things. But it is a day where they take off. Emmy West, hey, no, I was the one who shouted to you from the stands yesterday. Good seeing you in person at training camp. Shout out, my man. Made sure that I gave you the shout out yesterday on the Jalen Ramsey interception, which was awesome. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm glad you didn't get rained out, and I'm also glad that you stayed hydrated, because you saw yesterday it became a war scene out there pretty quick, which is scary. But shout out, my man. It was good to see you. It's good to see everybody today. Whoever walked by me today, or I walked by today, I apologize that I didn't stop. I was trying to get to 7 shots, but I walked by and you said Noah salad, and I lost it, man. That was so awesome. So shout out if you're there tomorrow. Would love to talk more. I apologize for that one. But yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. The next of kin, who has been lining up a free safety, and how does Beanie Bishop look? Any reps? Beanie's been getting backup slot reps with the second and third team. Dante Kent's getting them with the third and the fourth team. The free safety's been Juan Thornhill. He's actually looked pretty good. I thought Juan Thornhill's looked impressive. Chuck Clark would be the guy that's lining up behind him afterwards. Also has looked pretty impressive, to be honest. I mean, he's playing with backups and really third strings at times, and he looks like a starter, which is awesome. But Juan Thornhill's making plays. He's shutting down guys, even like Calvin Anderson or Calvin Austin, running with Calvin Austin at times, which I thought is good. So he's the starting free safety, and I think he's looked pretty good. Beanie, he's getting reps with the backups. It's not that he looks good or bad. He's just kind of like floating out there. He's one of the guys that you're not really seeing much of. You're not seeing a ton of Beanie Bishop make any plays, good or bad, which, is totally fine. But he's kind of just fading out in there. I want to see him on special teams. To be honest, I know I keep preaching this and people keep firing back at me. I think Beanie's on the 53-man roster, but I think he's got to prove himself on special teams to make sure that he is on the 53-man roster, because he's not going to play a ton of defense. He's got to be able to be the guy that can play on special teams. He didn't play any special teams last year. That's got to change this year. If it does, I think he's a lock, but that's a big if, because again, he didn't, when he got benched, he just didn't play at all last year. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason. Is Troy Fautano participating now? Yeah, he's fully healthy, ready to go, excited. We talked to him today. He's super excited for Tuesday just to put pads on. He actually almost was speechless. He just was yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am to be out there in pads and come full circle from the knee injury and everything that happened, and to be able to finally really, really play football again, which is, that's super cool. That's super cool. So yeah, he's out there and I'm excited to see him. Thought he's looked good throughout the week. How does Mason look? Mason looked awful today. He really did. I think Mason looks fine most of the times. Today, he had a really bad day. Had a couple of balls batted down, threw an interception on a really bad pass to Brandon Eccles. It just wasn't his best day by no means. Will it get better? Yeah. Is he still the number 2? Definitely. But I still think that it was a bad day. He's had a couple of throws where like he threw 2 deep balls this week. Both of them were late and behind guys, and he's got to get better at that because that's the one thing. Like, you have so much speed on this team, utilize it. One was to Calvin, one was to Roman. Both of them were behind him, and you're just going, no, I take that back. One was to Lance McCutcheon, one was to Roman. Both of them were open. Both of them had guys beat, and Mason just threw bad balls. So you got to get better. I think he looks okay. Doesn't look great. Has had some moments where he looks totally fine. I heard they don't want any videotaping at practice. Is that true? Yeah, they actually like really enforce it. You aren't allowed to take videos of practice. You'll get kicked out, which that's the rule across most training camps. There's not a lot of training camps that let fans in most of the time. Most teams don't let you in because of things like this. Like, they're building a team, they're building schematics. They don't want that stuff out there. And for anybody who says like, nah, my video is not going to do anything, it is. Trust me. I know coaches across the league who use fan videos to scout teams and to understand game plans. And I'm telling you, you are doing such an injustice to the Pittsburgh Steelers by putting that out there. Again, it's a big justice to me because I get to look back and watch this. It's a big justice to the fans because we get to see, and everybody gets to see what's going on. But anybody who thinks that NFL teams are not watching these videos, they are. Trust me. Trust me. Zach Taylor, perfect example here, gave a shout out to a reporter in Pittsburgh and just said, like privately, and said, hey, I saw your video, and in the background, Minka was doing this, and we game planned all week to make sure that we could beat Minka doing that, and they did. And they know, guys. They know. Trust me, they do. John, when are we making the all salad talk shirts? I hope soon. That's so hilarious. That's so hilarious. So much fun. I love the salad, the picnic pack that we have going on here, for sure. All right, highlighting some good old questions here as we keep it trucking. How about Derek Harmon? Derek Harmon looks like an absolute lunatic on the field, my friend. It's kind of crazy how good he looks. It is. I've been preaching Derek Harmon's a freak since the moment he got drafted, and I am so thankful that he has proven me right because he looks like a freak. It is insane. The dude's batting down balls, beating everybody off the line of scrimmage. He's constantly in the backfield. Obviously, you got to put pads on, but it's still very impressive to see what he's been doing early in practice and how much he's beating guys, because it's not just like maybe he's pretty good, but you're seeing it once in a while, or he's batting a pass down with no pads on, which means his arms could get up and it's no big deal. He's beating guys off the ball. He's getting his arms up. He's throwing offensive linemen around. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. We traded for Terry McLaurin. I don't think we had. I don't think we have, which would have been awesome, but I don't think we have. All right, let's keep it trucking here as I make sure we don't miss any tackles. Maddie, how did Will look today? Will looked all right. Will is a guy that he completes some passes, he misses some passes, and that's just, what you're looking for today. Nothing really stood out. His rep count went down a little bit to Skylar Thompson's, but I think it's just because Aaron played a lot more today than he has most of the rest of the week. The first team's been out there, or was out there a little bit more than the rest of the week, so I think that was the contributor to it. But I thought Will looked fine. Nothing really stood out good or bad. It was kind of an even-keeled day for Will Howard. That's been most of his week. That's exciting. I talked to him yesterday. He said he's having a blast out here. I think that's what it is, man. Like, that's what gets me excited about Will, is that he's just a good dude who's got a good head on his shoulders, and that's where you start in the NFL. And I think he's got that. Mike G, when is Backs on Backers? It's Tuesday, and I am so excited for Backs on Backers. There is nothing better at training camp than watching Jaylen Warren line up against Mark Robb and Cole Holcomb and Patrick Queen and whoever and light these guys up. And then everybody else follows. He is pumped. I'm pumped. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. Jamal, what would Beanie Bishop have to do or do on special teams? That's the thing. He'd have to become a gunner, a protector, something, but he's got to figure it out because you don't make the team as a backup corner. It's just not what you do. If you are the third corner, you make the team as a backup corner and just a backup corner. But if you're the sixth corner, which is what he would be, then you have to play special teams. Like, you can't not play special teams and make the team. Again, do I think he's gonna? Yeah, I think he makes the team. But I think Dante Kent's got the door wide open to compete with them. I think James Pierre's got the door wide open to compete with them. He's got to be able to play gunner, protector, something. But he cannot just play defense. He's got to be able to play special teams, which he didn't play at all last year. And that's not good. Chris, Noah Jones getting injured highlights how dire the O-line depth is. If we are all in for a Super Bowl, we need more O-line depth. Priority number one. I think it is becoming a focus for the Steelers over the next couple of days. I would expect the Steelers to really dive into who they have and how good these guys are. And this is, kind of the beginning of them realizing that maybe they need a little bit more depth there. And I think that's important. So I honestly think Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan and company, they are seeing what you're saying, and they have the same thoughts, because the move today to immediately say, Calvin Anderson, get your butt to the bench, Dylan Cook, go test it out over there, I think shows that they are ready to make sure that it's all good, no matter who it is or what they have to do. Tortellini salad with the Broderick injury. Does this start discussion of bringing in a left tackle from outside, whether that's training or searching free agency, if there is anyone? Yeah, I do think that starts to begin, but I think they're going to give Dylan Cook a shot. But I wouldn't be surprised if Omar's, just starting to make preliminary phone calls. I don't think it's a trade. Maybe it's a trade, for that. Like, that's the thing, is with the trade, it'd be like, hey, we'll give you a DeMarvin for this guy, or we'll give you whoever for this guy. I don't think it'd be anything bigger than that. I think it'd be a very small trade. I don't think it'd be a splashy name. I don't even think we'd know who it is, to be honest. I think he'd come in here and we'd all be going, yeah, that guy sounds pretty good. Awesome. Cool. Better than Calvin Anderson. So I think that's what's gonna ultimately happen, which is fine. That's how these guys become good. But I do think that, I would not be surprised if Omar is beginning those conversations. Cody, how do they know that Browns Ravens reps aren't there watching Steelers training camp? They don't. They really don't. But, again, you got to take precautions and hope for the best. Most teams do have scouts all over the place, or spies, or whatever you want to call them, all over the place. But again, you got to just take precautions. And it's just my argument towards the team, because I understand where they're coming from. And I understand where they're coming from just because I know how much these teams use it, is the Steelers are one of the last teams in the NFL that let fans into training camp practice every day. And, they want to make sure that they do right by you guys, but, they also have to protect their plays and what they're doing. And, I hear that. I do understand that fully. So they know they're taking a risk. They know that they're going to get screwed on the back end of this one, but I appreciate the way that they go about it and what they do. I also appreciate it from my standpoint, because if you guys weren't allowed here, I wouldn't be able to report everything that I see. So while I can't say exactly what's happening, I could say a lot more than if it was a closed practice and I had to get everything confirmed about Broderick going down or this or that or whatever. I wouldn't be able to tell you guys who was looking good and who wasn't, because we wouldn't be able to say anything unless it was confirmed. Mr. Tembolo, how does Aaron, Will, and Pat Queen look today? Will, I kind of went over. He looked pretty even keel. Aaron, I thought, looked pretty good today. I thought it was one of his better days, for sure. Not that Aaron's looked bad, but I think that today was one of his better days. Patrick Queen looks good too. I'm excited to see Patrick Queen dive into those one-on-one drills next week and in coverage and that kind of stuff. But Patrick Queen looks pretty good. He looks fast. There was a moment, I want to say he was on Kenneth Gainwell, where they were running stride for stride down the sideline, and I felt, are in the middle of the field. And I was like, okay, that's a fast guy. This is an impressive move from Patrick Queen. I thought Pat looked pretty good. This, I think, was Aaron Rodgers' best day. Like, I don't think he had a moment where you went, oof. He didn't throw an interception, threw a couple of balls that I was just like, there have been a couple of moments in this training camp, and I don't know specifics. I know this one. It was an individual drill. He's kind of like jogging over, and he launches like a 40-yard ball beautifully to, I want to say, Ben Skoranek. And there've just been a couple of those moments where you're going, this is the best quarterback the Steelers have had since Ben, and it's not even close. It's not even remotely close. Like, Aaron's still a great quarterback. Is he mobile? No. Is he beat up? Yes, but he is a great quarterback, and it's just such a significant difference between like, oh, Russ was a good quarterback and Aaron still is a good quarterback, and you could see it. You could see it instantly. Oh, sorry, I already went over this. Danny, are you seeing any good connections between Aaron and any wide receivers? Yeah, I think he's got a connection growing with DK, which is good. He made a couple of passes to him over the last 2 days. And then Calvin Austin is the other one. He's making a lot of throws to Calvin Austin, which I think is very impressive. And I'm a big Calvin Austin guy. I've been a big Calvin Austin guy. I think people are overlooking him a little bit. I get it, his size. It makes people worried. But if you got Jonnu Smith, who, again, didn't really look great today, but Pat Freiermuth did, Darnell Washington did. If you got all those guys, if you have DK, and Calvin could just be like a wide receiver too who makes plays, then I think it works so well. I really, really, truly do. So I'm excited about Aaron and his connection to Calvin Austin. Maddie, when you join the Fantasy League, I need to do that again. Can you send me another email with the link today or something and just say, please do this, and I'll do it while I'm sitting at dinner doing dinner, because I apologize, but it totally slipped my mind, and I know if I go into that email, it'll take days to figure it out. So I appreciate you, and I apologize that I have been slacking on that one. How does the offense look? Because all I've heard is that they're struggling. Does that mean good defense, or should we worry about it? No, when the offense looks like they've struggled, which they've had moments of struggle over the last couple of days, it is how good the defense is. The defense in Pittsburgh this year is elite. There's no question about it. They are elite. It is scary how good they actually look, and any struggles that come with that offensively is just the fact that your offense is going up against a defense that is fast, physical, has one ridiculously good secondary, and a defensive line that looks just as good. So, I mean, you can't do it. You can't do it. Or you can't beat it. You can't beat it. How is Caleb Johnson looking? Really good. Explosive, fast, shifty, great vision. He's hit a couple of holes that you've been really impressed with and taken it for 60 plus a couple of times, which is really awesome. I thought Caleb's looked really good. He quieted down today, but that's no big deal. I thought he's looked fantastic so far. Dropped a pass today. Super easy, just dump off to him where it came out of his hands. Mike said that. Like, Tomlin said that before, that his hands are average at best. Like, all the comparisons to Le'Veon Bell that are out there, that's the biggest knock, is that he doesn't have Le'Veon Bell's hands. They're not even close. So he's got to work on catching the football. He's got to work on protecting the quarterback. That's a lot going on. I get it. But at the same time, I think he's capable of doing it. Running the football, he looks pretty good. What is Darnell's future with this team? Right now, he's the tight end 3, and he looks good doing it. They're running a lot of 13 personnel with 3 tight ends out there. He's catching the football more than he's caught it in the last 2 years. I think they're going to use him as a blocker in 12 personnel way more than they've used him in the past. I think Darnell's got a bright future with this team this season. I don't know if it goes beyond this season. I don't know if it goes beyond next season when he's the last year of his rookie deal. But right now where we sit, I don't see Darnell. He was a guy that I said coming in here, it makes sense to trade him. It doesn't make sense to trade him. It makes sense that if you we're going to ask me who has the most trade value on the team, I'd say Darnell probably does. I don't think he's going to get traded. I'm not pushing for him to get traded. I don't think he should get traded. I know I'll get yelled at for saying that, but still, I think he has a bright future this season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he looks pretty good. He's looked pretty good a lot of training camps, but he looks pretty good in this one. Ryan Howard, if the offense starts to suck, who do you think is going to get frustrated or pissed first, Rodgers or DK? I think both of them, but I don't expect the offense to suck, but wide receivers always get more pissed off than a quarterback every single time. So I think the easy answer is DK. Maddie, do you think they'll have more passing yards this season? Yes. I think they're going to throw the ball quite a bit, but I do think this is still a running team. It's going to remain a running team. That's not going to change, but I do think they're going to throw the football more. I think they're going to complete more passes, which is my biggest thing. It's not going to be moonball, George Pickens. It's going to be controlled chaos and controlled passes and controlled offense. And that usually works out pretty well. So yeah, I think my answer is yes. Is Sebastian Castro all right, or is he getting worse? No, I think Sebastian's looked pretty okay. The problem is I don't know if Sebastian has a place on the team because there are just so many safeties and defensive backs that I don't know if it's going to work out. But I think Sebastian's looked pretty all right. He hasn't come up with the football yet, but he's always around the football. He's always around a wide receiver when they catch a football. I think with pads on, there are going to be times where he forces a ball loose, which excites me. But I think he's looked pretty okay. He's looked decent for an undrafted guy, better than most, I would say, better than most undrafted guys, which is good. Was at training camp today. Disappointed the rain cut it short, but do you think the O-line will look better once the pads come on? Thanks for everything you do. Appreciate you, my man. Lucid Music, crazy. Okay, I'm going to tell you, and I don't know if this is you. I hope it's you. If you're based in Pittsburgh. My first year out here, I was walking around Pittsburgh. I have the photo somewhere. I'll find it. It might be 3 phones ago, but I'll find it. I'm walking around Pittsburgh. It's got to be midnight. I'm a 23-year-old kid. I'm not going to bed. I'm hanging out outside, walking around this new city. And I found this Lucid Music sticker on this pole or on this this railing. And I thought it was the coolest sticker ever. And where it was placed was perfect for me. And I can't skateboard very well, but I tried to I can't grind a rail on a skateboard. Okay. But I could get up and get off to get up and hit it. And I think I spent 45 minutes trying to hit that sticker, got it one time, and then we were done. But it was a dope sticker. I have a picture somewhere. I know I have a picture somewhere. I hope it was you, man. I hope it was you. That's awesome. They only cut it short by about 10 minutes, so you didn't miss much, which is cool. Appreciate you as always. And do I think the offensive line looks better once the pad comes on? Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you can't grab a guy right now. And people want to say that's holding. It's not. It's the NFL. And these guys have to hold. They're massive, crazy human beings. I think once the pads come on, you will see a better offensive line play. Maybe not from everybody, but you'll see it better from Troy. You'll see it better from Mason. You'll see it better from Zach. Maybe you'll see it better from Broderick. But those guys that are getting beat where they're latching on and getting thrown somewhere, they have nothing to grab onto. That's where they're missing. So the guys that are getting beat with footwork, aka Broderick, not as optimistic. But I do feel pretty good here. Rocky Mountain Oyster Salad. When does Acrisure get renamed to the Salad Bowl? So awesome. So awesome. So awesome. Shout out. How did Zach Frazier look today? Looked good. No bad snaps, which is good. I'm not super worried about him. But he did look better, for sure better actually, than he's looked in the last couple of days. Roman or Woods, who looks better? Man, I think they both look very boring. Not to be that guy, but I think they both look very boring. Neither of them are standing out. Neither of them are making crazy plays. neither of them are doing much at all. So I would say they both look very boring. I'm not very high on either of them right now. Maybe that'll change. Hopefully it does. I think Roman's got a better opportunity, but I'm not very high on either of them for sure. Maddie, start, bench, cut, Rodgers, Ben, Wilson. In their prime, the order's still the same as any status here. It's Ben in my head. You won more Super Bowls. It depends on what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Ben's more of a winner. Ben's got the winning down. Aaron's top 5 physically gifted quarterbacks of all time, without question. Like, Aaron is one of the top 5 greatest passers the NFL has ever seen. Maybe top 3. Like, I honestly think he might be right behind John Elway and Dan Marino. But Ben's got more bowls, and because of that, you got to give him the edge. I'd go Ben. I'd bench Rodgers. I'm cutting Russell Wilson. It's not even a question. Not even a little bit of a question, to be honest. All right. David, will left tackle move up the draft priority list if the left tackle plans do not work out? Yeah, definitely. If Broderick Jones stinks this year, you better believe left tackle is going to go real high in the Pittsburgh Steelers draft order next year. It's going to be right there with quarterback, probably wide receiver, defensive tackle, possibly. Maybe not defensive tackle if Y.E. Black looks good, but it's going to be right up there for sure. We got a long way to go before then, but yes, the answer to this is yes. If it doesn't look good, the Steelers will go in a different direction. Wes, how's Joey Porter Jr. looking, and is he learning at all from Slay and Ramsey? Actually, Joey Porter looks great. He looks so good out here. He's made some plays on DK. Actually, the play yesterday where DK jumped 4 feet in the air and the ball was 15 yards out of bounds, and everybody kind of cheered for DK to kind of like make the move or something. Like, it was just cool to watch. I was hoping they were cheering on Joey Porter because it was great coverage. He's coming up and getting physical. He looks bigger, which is great. He looks faster, which is great. I think he looks way more comfortable playing man defense than he does playing zone defense, which is awesome to see. So yeah, Joey Porter looks very impressive. He fits right in on this elite defense. I'm telling you that right now. He looks like a just another member of a group that is really dominating here at camp. What will our wide receiver depth look like come week 1, in my opinion? My guess is DK, Calvin are the starters. Roman's the 3. Robert Woods is the 4. Yikes. Ben Skoronek's the 5. Right now, I would guess Scotty Miller maybe is the 6th. If you're keeping a 6th, that's my depth chart right there. I think the top 2 is fine. I think Roman's got to do a little bit more, but I think top 2 look good. After that, it gets definitely questionable. Jay Stokes, any shot of Zach Banner coming back? I don't think so. You know, maybe, but I don't see Zach Banner being in the Steelers' plans long term. Everskate at Switch and Signal. One time, actually, it was a good time, and then it was actually right after they did this big skating event, which was cool. But yeah, I went there one time. It was awesome. That place is sick. I haven't skateboarded in, it's got to be 3 years probably. Just haven't had time, which stinks. You know, once in a while I'll go back home and I'll longboard with my brothers. But besides that, don't get into as much as I would love to. But yeah, Switch and Signal's awesome. They moved, I'm pretty sure, from the last time I was there. They were over in Braddock. Maybe they're still in Braddock, but I want to say I heard that they moved. Either way, they're cool. The owner's super cool from what I hear. Family business, do a lot for the kids. So love to support them, and I hope everybody does. No, I've been meaning to ask. I see a lot of tats. Any of them Steelers tats? If not, any plans to get one? No Steelers tats and no plans to get Steelers tats. To be honest with you, I don't even wear Steelers clothing. Feels weird, you know, being in a locker room wearing Steelers clothing because I have to be unbiased. You know, I got to watch these guys and observe everything as not a fan, as an analyst and a reporter and an insider. So it's a different feeling, which it's a way cooler, not a way cooler feeling. I shouldn't say that because I wake up most Sundays and go, damn, dude, I would love to sit on the couch and, you know, have some pizza and scream my face off at the television. Like, that would be awesome. but it's a very cool feeling in a different way to be able to be like, I'm just gonna text this guy real fast and say what's good, or I'm gonna go to Sharky's with this guy, like it's pretty cool. But no, none of them, most of them are like family stuff or just like random things like a jukebox, because when you're 23 years old, you do dumb things like get a jukebox. All right, finish it up with a couple here. Broderick, is there a competition at the fullback position? No, to be honest, they don't actually have a natural fullback, but they've used Jonnu Smith there, Darnell Washington there, which everybody told me use Darnell, and I said no, he's too big. For all of you who told me that and I shut you down, I apologize. That's on me. I'm wrong, not you guys. I was wrong. And they've used Connor Hayward there, and then DJ Thomas Jones, who unfortunately got hurt today, but yeah, there is none. It's just it's a lot of tight ends, which is exciting because all these guys could play fullback as well. Tortellini salad, Chuck Clark making any plays? Yeah, Chuck Clark had 2 good plays today. One of them came, he was coming up the middle, and I don't remember who caught the ball. I don't remember who it was or was going to catch the ball, but Chuck closed in real fast, disguised it real well, was able to punch it out, which was awesome. And then the other one, it was off the edge, and it was Skylar Thompson at quarterback, so it had to be the 4th strings. But again, if you're a starter or a backup playing with the 4th strings, you should look better than everybody out there, and he did. He came untouched, and he would have ate Skylar Thompson's lunch. It would have been so brutal, actually. I would have felt so bad off the blind side. He was probably dead. Like it was pretty crazy. Yeah. So Chuck Clark's made a couple of plays. He's actually looked good for a dude. I don't know if you guys know the story, but he literally got he did a workout, an off-season workout. Oh, there go the lights. There go the lights. We got 3 more. We'll power through it here. He did an off-season workout. Actually, I've got a plan. You're walking with me to turn these lights on. He did an off-season workout, and all right, they're coming. We're back. Did an off-season workout, like his normal off-season workout, every day, just lifting, whatever. And got a call from the Steelers. They wanted to bring him in. He flew to Pittsburgh, worked out, signed the deal, took a picture of Deshaun Elliott's locker, sent it to him, told him he looked ugly, and then drove an hour to Latrobe and then practiced. This dude is a lunatic. I'm a big fan. Everybody else should probably be a big fan too. Maddie, towards the end of their careers, I still think if it's towards the end of their careers, I'm going Rodgers over Ben. I think Rodgers is held up better than Ben did at the end there, but only because Ben could still sling it. Ben just like, honestly, I'm shocked Ben lasted as long as he did, because at the end of that, the last year, Ben legitimately couldn't reach his toes. Like he couldn't bend. He couldn't tie his shoes. It was so bad. So I would go Aaron and then Ben in that one. But if we're going peak, I'm going the other way around. Joey Porter Jr. for top 100 next year. I think there's a possibility for sure. I do think there's a possibility for sure. I think last year he did not deserve it. But I think there's a possibility that he's going to be out there, or that he's going to make it 100%. Eddie, how's Alex Highsmith looking? Pretty good. Super fast. Absolutely destroyed Broderick Jones the other day. That went viral on Twitter of him going to the outside, cutting to the inside. Him and TJ just look good. They're out there like a very small amount of time. It's a lot of Herbig. It's a lot of Jack Sawyer, who both look good. But Alex Highsmith is a freak, man. I have very little worries about Alex Highsmith. And we'll finish it off with this one. Nobody's talking about Slay. How's he doing? I thought he's doing pretty good. He's not letting any balls his side. They're not testing him much. Again, he's another guy. He's a veteran. He gets vet days off. He's not out there all the time. They're making sure Brandon Eccles gets his reps and Corey Trice gets reps, and they're not doing a whole ton for their 34-year-old corner to make sure that he's out there all the time. But I thought he's looked good. I thought everybody's in that secondary's looked pretty elite so far this season. All right. With that said, guys, we're heading out of here, or I'm heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk, a good old Sunday edition, live from St. Vincent College here at Pittsburgh Steelers training camp. We wrap up week 1, but don't worry, week 2 comes tomorrow. Me and Jacob will be on the pod, normal time, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Super excited for that one. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. As always, make sure to check out all my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. And we will be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.